and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Iceland calling. Welcome to a new session of inspiring conversations. And let us just remind ourselves why we are doing this. Not we, because I'm alone, but inspiring conversation. It's all about creating conversations that really matter. We are diving into ways to connect deeply, break down barriers, and build moments that inspire trust and growth. Whether it's with your team at work or in your everyday chats, we will bring more positivity, realness, and impact into every conversation. So I hope that you take something into the day, into the week, or whatever. But just to remind you guys where I am, this is my view. This is Kirkjufell Mountain, and the stone is artwork by a guy called Liston. So I am on the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, and it's like a fantastic day. 9 degrees outside, raining, foggy, and everything. But I don't think that is the case with my guest. And my guest today is Marco Houwen. Hey, yes, thank you. I slaughtered your name. It did not take me 1 minute to slaughter your name. So your last name is
Marco Houwen. So
Houwen. So
yeah,
it's like Houwen.
yeah.
So, as I mentioned, by me, there is 9 degrees up north. You are sitting in Luxembourg,
And we
and
have 29 degrees, so it's a little bit better. A lot of sun, so it's great.
yes, and we thank you for this interview. Have a great day and have a great life.
Yeah, that was great. I really loved our interaction, and yeah, no, that's
29,
thank you, Eddie,
29
for having
degrees.
me.
Yes, Marco, 29 degrees. That's way too much.
Yeah,
That's
you're
just
right.
crazy,
You're right.
isn't
You're
it?
right. But if the day you have that consistently in Iceland, climate change has really taken over. So I'm very happy that you still have 9 degrees. Sorry for you.
Maybe we will go to the other way. Like maybe we will just be like in the ice age where we have 50, minus 50. We will be like certain parts of Canada where they have minus 50 degrees.
There are these theories, but I'm not an expert, so I will not start to talk about that one. But there are
We are not
theories
going
which
to
say
talk about
that
that.
we are
But
going actually more into an ice age than into a warming of climate. But let us just stop
yeah,
there, please.
that is just the thing. Like we have to just deal with whatever we get,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely. We
So,
cannot
but
change
welcome
it.
to the inspiring conversation, and we got we connected through Podmatch,
Yeah.
and I found it interesting when we talked together that your story is that you were in the whirlwind of corporate, like climbing up the corporate stairs and whatnot, and then you realized, uh-oh, this is not what I want to do in life. So we are going to talk about growth without losing yourself, like a new blueprint for conscious leadership. But before we do that, we should probably talk about who is Marco Houwen.
Just call me Marco.
Yeah, please don't slaughter my name. Well, I
Okay.
will not go into my name, so you are lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Because I probably slaughter it every time I say it. We didn't talk about it. Yeah.
Yes. So Marco, give us an insight in Marco's life.
Yeah. So 52 years old, a
Oh, so
daughter,
young.
almost 19, married since 28 years this year. So that's on the private family side. A business owner since 26 years, 27 years, mainly over the last 27 years in tech. But then in 2017, so now already 8 years ago, I decided to totally switch. And today I am a teacher, speaker, coach, as written on my website, but I am helping companies and individuals to holistically approach uh, their companies, their careers, their happiness in life.
So you have been, but was it a 360? Like when you started your business, like when you started, how do you say it?
Entrepreneur?
Sen, oh, is it French?
No, it's yeah.
Centrepreneur. Ah,
Entrepreneur. I came up
okay.
with that in 2020, and it was this. So there's a little story behind that. So during that time, I started to be coach. I was a year into being a certified coach. So I coached people, and I was a little frustrated because the people I coached, it was more about doing the same I did before, but just from the other side of the table. So how do I how do I run my board? How do I raise money? And so on and so on. And I said there is more in business which we are not touching. And that's where I said, okay, I need to come up with something which represents that. And so there came the Zen, intra. So entrepreneur as being somebody who creates companies, intrapreneur as somebody who is very innovative inside of a corporate environment. And so that's where entrepreneur.com was born as a name. And it was really this urge for me to bring another dimension into the head of the leaders, the dimension of being Zen, finding inner peace and basing everything you do on your inner peace. Obviously, I am on that journey too, but that was the reason why I chose that name at that time.
But if you, for 25 years, like when you started your company,
Yeah.
were you a traditional leader? Traditional, like how many people did you have in your company, or were you alone and struggling and then just building it up from the ground and just like, did you take in, oh, this is what I have learned, this is how you should do it, and you were like, what was it that, like, how did you do things back then, and why is it that you switched and like you are going more in for this conscious leadership?
It's a really really good question, Hedin, and thank you for asking it. Um, I was always a very conscious leader when it came to other people, so to people working for me. So I was always very compassionate. I have that. That's somehow some kind of a natural trait. But I was for sure not compassionate with myself. I was for sure somebody who always asked more and more and more of myself, which automatically also had an impact on how I led people. It's like if my stress levels peaked, obviously even compassion cannot hold you up from making other people's stress level peak too. But to the other part of your question, when I started up with a friend. At that time, we created an internet business and a hosting company, so an internet hosting company. And yeah, we started up the two of us, three, four, five people. I managed at the peak, I would say something around 150 people all over Europe because we had several companies and so on. So it really went from to I globalized a business model with offices in the US, in Singapore, in Luxembourg. So for 5 years, I was mostly living in a plane, or sleeping at home. When I was at home, I was just sleeping through my jet lags. So yeah, did it all. I was absolutely not who I am today. No, and also I didn't lead the way I tell people to lead today, and I will be very honest on that. Most of us didn't. But what I am able to do now is to really understand the pain people are going through, the pain which they are not showing, the pain of the suffering of the everyday challenges a leader faces and an entrepreneur faces. And through my own evolution over 8 9 years now, yes, it allowed me to clearly see what works and what didn't. And in the work with my customers, that's how I see what works and what doesn't.
But when you say the leader's pain, so what are we talking about? Are we talking about their private pain or the company's pain, or like you have, because of course you are what you are. And sometimes, okay, given that you have a Google Sheet or Excel sheet or whatnot you can use at your company, but still you are just this vessel or this brain, and you are look like this and stuff, but you still are. You can be the company. You can be like, and sometimes it's hard to distinguish uh, which is in pain and which is who is not. So, do you look at that, or is that something that we talk about?
Yeah, so first of all, there is no firewall between our private and our professional life. So everybody who says, "Oh yeah, that's only that," it's not personal. It doesn't work like
Uh,
that because it always is personal. Because it is directed to me either as my persona as a business person, or as a persona as a person, as a physical whatever person. So it's always personal. Now, and that's actually where the challenge comes from. And you said something really interesting, is who are you? And I have this little story I always tell, where when I was running this global startup, I had these shirts with the name of my company on, like white shirts, and here was the name of the company, and I was always I had that all the time. So I don't know, I had probably 10 shirts like that because I was flying all around the world, and so I always had. And one day I came home, probably on a Friday evening from Singapore, and I came home and slept on Saturday, fully jet lagged, got up on Sunday morning, and there was the first communion of my sister's daughter. And I go into my cupboard and I want to take a white shirt out because you need to dress up. I had no white shirt without the name of my company anymore. And
aha.
it was so powerful as an analogy because it proved to me that I was assimilating my life with my company. That's the first thing, talking about how to find peace. And now I would say something which some people will maybe just shut down and don't listen anymore. But it is only a company. Your life, your existence is so much more important. So keep your identity. Don't create and assimilate with the identity of your company. You are a person. You are somebody outside of what you're doing. It's this zen of being before doing. An article, my first article I wrote actually around. Stop it. It's about you are, not what you do. You are just simply you are. And so that's an analogy which I see a lot in entrepreneurs who are running for millions to raise, and I don't know what, and they just face this challenge of I, there's no detachment anymore from anything. And then we can take this Buddhist concept of detachment. You start to look at yourself, start to train yourself to look at yourself. Don't be attached. If you're attached, you're always in the thick of it. You're always in the deep, deep end of your problem. And again, and I love that. So there's this actually a great entrepreneur who wrote this book, The Untethered Soul, and Michael Singer. And Michael says, You are an insignificant one of 8.8 billion people on a planet, which is so small and which is turning around the sun and which is just like, we are, stop thinking that everything is a life-threatening situation. Even so, it might just kill your company. And then again, it's only a company. I'm not saying that you should not take your business seriously. I'm saying that you are taking your business more seriously, way more seriously if you detach from it, because then you can see the challenges, you can see what you need to do, you can see it because you have distance. And as long as you have no distance, as long as you are like that, you have no distance. So creating that capacity of having distance is crucial. And look at the best over time, they always were able to take distance.
But when you, even though, okay, you start like you are probably you've gone through university or something, like you have a degree in whatever or whatnot, and
You may
they
come to
teach
that.
you they teach you something, or you teach, like you learn how to, this is how business should be run.
Yeah.
And when you, like as you said that you have been with your wife, or you have been in the private life 28 years together, like that is also the time where you started the business and whatnot. So how much were you in a great pain, like were you on the path to burnout, or like, because we talk a lot about burnout, your well-being, or like your psychological safety and yada yada yada, like how was your interaction in that time? And because when you do this dramatic change, you talk about Buddha and you were like, we are like in ourselves, or whatnot, people must have looked at you and said, okay, Marco has lost it. You laugh.
I love it. I love it. First of all, yes, if you're in the thick of it, you are in the thick of it, and you go through it, and this change is not something easy. It's something, let's say, it's not for the faint at heart, because on the short run, it always is way easier to stay where you are and just do what you have done and continue doing that. For me, yes, I literally asked myself if what's happening, but and I can pinpoint it to one specific moment. I was on a seminar, for the ones who know, on a seminar of Tony Robbins in 2017, and it hit me like, just during, there was no specific moment, no specific exercise, whatever. It hit me like a lightning bolt. Like, I will find a way to live from what I really love to do. Now, that had a big challenge because I had no clue what that would be. But that's where it started. I turned around, my wife with me. I turned around and I told her, "Hey, that's what just happened to me, and I will find that way." And she was laughing, and everything will change now. She was laughing. We didn't laugh so much afterwards, but she was laughing, and that was the moment I decided to step out. Now, I had stepped out of a lot of stuff, and so on. We'll not go into details, but that moment was really very specific. And yeah, that's I started to look for my path, and it took me time. It took time. It took different new companies I created, which were not successful. It took an almost divorce. It took so much time. And yeah, was it was it what I needed to do? Yes, there was no way other way. For me, it was, it, yeah, I cannot describe that, but it was in the sense, if I'm not doing that, I might rather die. Not that I wanted to do something, but I
Oh yeah,
felt like
yeah.
I need to change. It's enough. Stop. How was that perceived by people around me? Wow, at that time that was tough for me, because at that time what people were thinking about me was very, very important still. And so yes, it was difficult. It was a very humbling time, uh, without wanting to brag, but I was known in Luxembourg as the IT guy, as the blockchain guy, as the cloud guy. I did all these hypes, and I did them very publicly. And then from one day to the other, you are not there anymore. You are not invited anymore where you were invited before. You're not, or some people just turned around when you came because they say, "Oh, this guy is." So it was tough. It's humbling, but it's really good. I'm very happy I went through that. But at that moment, yes, these are not easy moments. And actually, it's now after 7 8 years that I have totally found my peace, and I'm back very often in business settings, and that's fine. But I'm different. I'm differently back, and you need it. And that's the big challenge. Is I needed to find my own who am I to be able to go back. Because if I went, if and I tried several times during that time at the beginning, oh yeah, but I can't. I felt really bad being in networking environments and so on because I had let go of an identity, but I did not have found yet mine. So it was really difficult to be exposed to others. But now it's fine. I'm totally good.
But still, you as you say, like you are 52 years old today, and that will
Mhm.
mean that in 8 years' time, like for 8 years ago, then you were 44. So when you start out your life, you have this, like, you think you know the answer to everything, and you are just going on, and you are just marching on, and like, yeah, and then you're living the life, and you are like in Singapore, and you are in wherever or whatnot, and then all of a sudden you like, so when is it that, because when you talk to young people, when they are eager and they are just like, yeah, and I like, everything is happening, and then they get the first child, or they like something, like they're buying a flat, and then they start to realize that there's more to life than work and stuff. So when is it, do you remember, like back in, like, was it 10 years ago or 15 years ago, where you started to think, where when it creeps back on you, like, why am I doing this? Is this what I wanted? Is this really me? So have you had these thoughts along the way, and then when you stood there at the Tony Robbins, it's a big event, and then you just turn you around and say, okay, I'm going to change, and your wife just like, well, she must
Yeah.
have been felt like a little,
She didn't
he's
believe
losing it.
me, but unfortunately for her, well, I did. Well, now we're all good, but there were tough times. But did it come up for me? Yes, all the time. But I totally suppressed it. I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
I knew that I am not. But I can say that with hindsight. Obviously, when you're in the movement, it's more difficult. But I can tell you that I had that.
yeah,
I knew, and so the story is a little bit deeper in that sense that when I started up that IT company in 2000 or internet company in 2000, my idea was I brought a team together to create something around personal development, a platform around personal development. This was still before the dot-com bubble burst. And then we saw that the dot-com bubble burst will happen. Everybody who had not millions invested knew because it was not
yeah, yeah,
possible.
yeah,
It
yeah.
goes on. And then one person, a friend who I brought into these conversations, he was the internet expert, and he already created an internet company before. And he said, well, I have an idea. And so what I told him at that moment is, when we created that company, I told him, I give you 5 years of my life, and then I hope that internet has found a way to monetize so that I can do my project. Now I made out of these five, I made 17. So you see the
Yeah,
difference. Huh? So
yeah,
so during all that time, it was always this: will I really be? Am I really doing what I want? No, actually, I'm not. But it's really cool. I have a lot of recognition. I have a lot of this. I have a lot of that. At one time, I even had a lot of money, so it was really cool. But it was not based on, and I like to talk about that so much, but it was not based on who I am. That's actually why I talk a lot to entrepreneurs today, and I say, for God's sake, do something which is based on who you are, which is really representing you, rather than just something because Elon Musk is doing it or somebody else, and you think it's cool and you can do money with it. You might be right, but if you really pour your soul into it, it needs to be based on you. If you're not, then you will expose yourself to, you talked about burnout. Obviously, I had burnouts. Obviously, I was in depression. But at that time, that was not a conversation. That was not a discussion. I was literally not going to see a doctor, so nobody could tell me anything about this. So it's really simple. Huh?
Yeah,
That's like,
yeah,
but I can say it's like 2014 was one of the darkest years of my life, where literally there were no light in my head anymore, like only dark thoughts, and that was really tough. And then I get I worked my way out of that. It's really interesting. Huh? So there's things which were happening. So maybe if so, one of my innate capacities or qualities is that I'm always getting up. So whatever happens, you smack me down. I am sometimes I stay a little bit and I wallow and I bitch and moan, but then I get up and I just do what has to be done.
yeah,
That's how it is. And that defined my life, because I did several of these shifts in my life in different areas. And it's always like, okay, well, it doesn't work, so okay. What needs to be done needs to be done.
yeah. Like we say, if you fall off the horse, then you climb back on
Yes.
it because, like,
Yes.
try again, or how we take it. But okay, then if we turn around, like, or if we go to 2017 and you figure out, like, okay, I'm going to do something drastic. Well, okay, probably you did not think that you would do something drastic because you just thought that you would do something different. So, and you mentioned that you made some startups that were maybe not, like, they did not go as you wanted to them to go and stuff, like, but, and then you came across something that resonated with you, and why, like, what was it? And then it's not
So
because I
this
don't,
it's
because
interesting.
I don't have the sun. So did you see the light? Like, how did this? Because you talk about when,
I like it. So I was not in the Blues Brothers, and I didn't see the light. You know the movie.
yeah, but it's
No,
just like, when do you
but
realize? Oh,
so
this is it. This is what I have been looking for.
so let in the system I created, and we'll not go to the whole, but we talked about this authentic creation now, creating and on the
Yeah,
basis of who you are. But the other opposite or the other side of the model is the remembrance. So I am very innately convinced that we know already, but we don't remember, because we put so much shit on ourselves with all these
yeah,
different layers of unused, unnecessary stuff, unnecessary behaviors, unnecessary practices, unnecessary material stuff, and so on, that we totally forget. I told you in 1999, I wanted to create a platform around personal development. I knew that all the time. I
yeah,
literally,
yeah, 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 yeah.
literally kept the domain name. It's not mine anymore because I let it go. It was good for a time, but for 20 years I paid the domain name. Crazy enough. And then it was personalcrossroads.com. That was the name I wanted to give to that platform. That is what was me. But I was refusing to see it. I didn't want to remember. And when I accepted the reality as it is and what it cost me not to remember, I went there. So that I love it when people say, "Oh yeah," and then that happened, and I was enlightened.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, happens for some, and it really happens for some. It's really beautiful, but for most of us, not. So most of us, we have to work for this, and
Yeah.
and we need to be very honest with ourselves, and that's what is missing. We're mostly not honest with ourselves. We're mostly not really looking ourselves into the mirror and saying, "What is it really I am? What do I push away? What am I not wanting to see?" And I told you before, for me, it was really important the whole as more I was detached from what I really who I really was, as more important it became how people were seeing me. So it was really important for me. And the moment I accepted that fact, I could see and remember again what is really important for me. And then even so, it hurt that people were not giving me that feedback and that whatever I had anymore. It made it healed me in that sense, because I could just slowly go into that role who I was really, who is somebody who loves to support somebody. I had that trait as a kid. I had that trait as a teenager. I was always the one who was supporting others. I was always the one who I was always the psychologist to all the nice ladies who was running around, and there was something which was in me, and I refused to see that. I refused because that's not cool. You cannot do money, and it started actually in teenager age, huh? Because you see as a man, you're growing up, you're becoming a man, you are not that's not cool, so you need to do cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I accepted just these part of me, and accepting these parts of me allowed me to remembering these parts of me, to reconnect with what's really important for me. And but that's only the beginning of the story, because then you still need to make that into something which is still you, and you can sell it. Well, that's a totally other story. But you cannot do the create a product and sell it before you have done that. So that's why it's so important that startup people, like entrepreneurs at a young age, start to think in terms of who am I, rather than in terms of how do I do tons of money, or how do I fulfill my father's dream, or how do I create something which I think is really cool because everybody will like it. It will not make you happy. Now, there are tons of people around who never went through this process and who have shitload of money and are very successful known entrepreneurs. I challenge their happiness. And is success really success if you're not happy?
That's an interesting thought. But what I'm thinking now is when you go out and you meet the people that you're working with, and they say that maybe you have something in you that is holding you back. Like, why is it that me, like in my case, for example, it seems always to be that I always lack money. Is that my belief that I am not worthy of money? Like, are you encountering these thoughts, or what is it that you okay? You have been in this business now for 8 years, and you realized, like, okay, I know that we are similar, because this is just you. It was like I was talking to my twin or listening to my twin, because I was just like, yeah, that's me. But still, you you listen to your parents, and you get stuff from your parents, and you say, like, oh, why don't you do this or that, and la 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 la, and you have to follow in your father's footsteps and whatnot. And then you go out to businesses and you start talking about the pain, and why, like, could you, money is necessity, it does not build your happiness. It okay, it contributes to your happiness maybe, because you can do stuff. Like, how do you sell yourself when you are this mindful of where, like, if you are you and you have to, like, you are not the company, is a difficult question, or is it like, you know
It's a
what I mean?
complex question, but I can try to give an idea. First of all, it is a challenge, and it's something I grow into. So coming to the logic of beliefs, obviously, beliefs are our beliefs are which is driving us. And if we have a consistent or a recurring challenge coming up, that means that it is most of the times driven by deep beliefs. Money is a classic on that, because there's so much ambiguity in money when we grow up, and we get beliefs in there which we are not touching because it's so, oh, we're not talking about money.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have money, so it's great, but sometimes I don't, so I have just to meddle through. And so it is a work to be done. I did that work, and I still do work. So it's like I'm not a finished product. Don't worry. There's a lot of work to be done. Actually, it never stops. So that's for sure. How do you approach companies or business leaders? You have to meet them where they are, and that's one of the most difficult things I needed to learn, because I went through all these phases to very spiritual phases and so on, and I literally want everybody to think like me, and I say, oh yeah, it is not important. So we need, as coaches, we need to put ourselves on the level, and that is not a negative thing I'm saying. So it's not level better or worse. It's just on the same playing field. And on that playing field, we are there to make people evolve. And if that is because we talk about, is that is the need is that we talk about the relation, the leader's relationship with God. Fine for me, I can go there. If it is about the relationship with his wife, fine. If it's about the relationship with his partner, business partner, fine. I don't care. But I needed a long time to come to that understanding that I don't care. But it only went. I only could get there through the fact that I continuously working and deepening the understanding of who I am, the remembrance we just talked about before.
Yeah.
Remembrance never stops. And at one moment in time, it shifted from I need everybody to think like me to I'm just a tool. I'm a tool of support to others. And then from one day to the other, I started to have customers like I never had before. I started to get things to do, which a year before I would have said, oh no, I will not do that. Oh no, no, no. Oh no, that's not spiritual enough. Oh, that's not. She said, okay, it's on my path. I'm a tool. I will just do it. And I did it. And I do it.
Yeah.
It's a shift in my head. It's on one hand an empowering self-confidence which grows based on the deepest humbleness that I am not doing what I really, really would love to do. I don't know. It's again, it's ambiguous, but it is these. It is actually the power lies in this ambiguity, and accepting that that's there. That ambiguity is there, but I can find my need for spirituality, for that matter. I find that in my own practices, in my own way, in my own path. I don't need to talk about that all the time. It's not necessary. But when we can. So, and that was a big challenge. And the question is so relevant because for 2 years, 3 years, I was literally thinking, I need to push through. I need to push through. I will not go back to the old ways. I need to push through. Imagine what happened. Nothing.
Uh-huh.
The moment I said, okay, here I am. You know me. You know what I can do. So put me to work, and here I am. I'm working. Huh? And so it's I don't know if I make that clear enough, but it lies in this ambiguity of acceptance and letting go, and not stopping to work and to go further and to create and to do it differently and to fail. In less spiritual terms, I can say there's this saying, okay, we are not learning from our successes, we are learning from our failures. Or there's the other way of saying there are no failures, there are only learning, there are only learnings we can have.
Mhm.
And that's another way of explaining what I just said. It's like you learn, and then you start to learn, and things are working out, and yeah, but yes, it's a journey.
So when you let go of why am I not, and then you just like, okay, hello, my name is Marco, here I am. And on your LinkedIn page, you mentioned that you help C-level executives, organizations, and entrepreneurs integrate cognitive, emotional, and spiritual intelligence to
Yeah,
like uncover companies' growth identity as the cornerstone of their
yeah,
future readiness, build purpose-driven organizations that attract and retain top talent, create sustainable business modules that thrive through market transitions, and achieve peak performance while maintaining inner calm. So in times of crisis, you need to stay focused and calm. So
yes.
how do companies what okay when you let go and you went into and said, hello, Marco here, like, remember me, and you started talking about this, how you would help them in on this journey, did they look at you like you were just out of like,
Well,
if you were taken by some
yeah,
aliens and just put in
it's
like
it's it's again a very very valid question, and obviously I walked out, and the challenge is from a marketing perspective, uh, going out like that is difficult because a lot of people are not. You're not meeting a lot of people with this narrative.
yeah.
So you need to create your personal brand, and you need to hammer your personal brand, and you need to rework and to talk and to communicate who you are to create your personal brand. It took me 4 years to really be where I'm now. It took me 4 years so that people, and for me it was um, so I started somewhere in 2021 to start marketing what I do, and obviously I went and tried to do the way you just said, and that was not not a lot of success. I had customers, but it was not a lot of success. And then I said, okay, that needs to change. And my challenge was that people were remembering me being the tech guy, being and all these. So two things were happening. One part of the persons were saying, "Oh, Marco, he has it all. He is doing a little bit in human. He doesn't need it." So now they didn't take it serious. And the other part of people were just saying, "Well, I don't get it. He was in tech. What is he doing here?" So 2023 became my year of rebranding. I literally put, I think, probably 80, 90 videos on LinkedIn over a whole year, over, like every week, 2 or 3 videos, which were all totally disconnect from anything I did before. And there I started to feel a shift where people were talking to me about what I was talking about now, not to who I was before. So that was the beginning. And then I started to find my narratives. And obviously, that's a big, big challenge because now we're in a marketing class, but the narrative needs still to be based on who you are. So you cannot start to be inauthentic. You need to be authentic, but you need to talk to the audiences. So, and that's something you need to try, and you need to do trial and error. And that works better now. So I found ways how to write posts, how to do things, what is working, what is authentic, and what is representing what I am doing. So it takes time, and then people show up. Then you get a call from somebody saying, "Oh yeah, I have." Then that this person told me to call you. We have that and that challenge in the management board. Can you just join? Can you just come next? I was not calling me CEO. Can you just join me? Join us in 2 days. We have this offsite. I said, I'm sorry, I already have something on that day. And anyhow, if I go into conflictual situation, I would like to understand the situation before before I step
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
into the nest of bees. And then yeah, I made an analysis. I gave them a nice report, and based on that, we work together now since the time, and it just popped up. I was not expecting. Now, one person in the management board knew me 12 years ago when he was a junior and whatever. But what I want to say by that is people are popping up because they follow you. I had 3 weeks ago somebody booking a meeting in my calendar. I had no clue. And then I did a mistake by researching him on LinkedIn. So I didn't find him on LinkedIn. So I thought, oh, wow, somebody who's not on LinkedIn, what's that? and, and then I get into the call and I look at the guy and said, shit, I know him. And then we spoke and said, yeah, I knew him. I was working in my own former life, 2012 and so on. We were in contact and we had conversations and so on. The same industry, cloud industry at that time. And he said, I follow you since 3 years. But now I really think this is something I would love to work with you. Can we do something? And that only happens when you are honing your personal branding. And again, doing personal branding is for most of us a huge challenge because we have to overcome our own limitation of I cannot show myself, I cannot. It's like, to tell you how deep that lies for me, I literally created Zentrepreneur.com, Zentrepreneur as a brand, because at that time I was not ready to go out with my own name, talking about the logo on the shirt before. And I didn't know that obviously, but I saw that over time when I was working. I said, shit, you actually created this brand because there's again something you can hide behind. But that's not only for coaches. I give that advice almost every day now. Say, what is your personal brand? Who are you? Talk to people. Share it. Nobody will hire you in the next position if you didn't show who you are during now. And you cannot do that only 2 days before before you want to have a new job.
Yeah.
You need to be vocal. That's how the world works today. That was not how I grew up. That's not how I created the first business 27 years ago. Absolutely not. But that's how it is now. And for everybody, it's crucial. And yes, everybody does it. My viewers divided by 3 over the last 3 years. Even so, I'm so much more effective in my LinkedIn communication. Why? Because everybody does it now. So there are only so many people who are watching, and the algorithm has to divide it between more and more people who are coming with content. But still, it's the only way. Even now, people will say, "Oh, Marco, oh, this is really interesting what he's saying." So what are they doing first? They are going to LinkedIn and they're looking me up. So it is. And I'm inviting to do so. That's authentically me. Go for it.
Yeah. So, like, time flies when you're having fun, and I'm just thinking, uh, when you must have, and I hope that you are willing to talk about. Do you have a success story, and then a story where you tanked, like where you just like everything blew up in your face, like when you started, and of course there's nobody who says that this is easy. You are always in highs and lows, and you have to think about, as you say, like you will fall and people will try to punch you down and keep you down because you are into something that they are not interested in. whereas they are trying to kick your beliefs out of yourself and make you do stuff that everybody else is doing. So, do you have any? Or maybe you could have, like, you met some people and they wanted to hire you, and you were just like, oh my God, well, okay, it's a good money, and you were not like very highly positive about it, and then they came out to be the best thing ever. Do you know
Well,
what? Like,
I have the other way around. 2015, there was my ego was really tickled. I was really happy. Former minister of this and that in the country who contacted me and who said, "Oh, I want to create this company with you." And I thought we had dinner together. It was really really great. And I went home and told my wife, I just had this meeting, and he proposed that to me. I honestly think it's a bad idea, but I will do it. Well, imagine what happened.
uh-huh.
It was the worst thing. It was my worst business venture. For me personally, I almost went bankrupt on it. And I can only blame me, huh? I'm not blaming anybody
Oh,
else.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah,
took
yeah.
that decision. So yes, that's these are these stories, and they are always driven. Why did that happen to me? With hindsight, now looking at it, and I'm looking at this thing because I had no compass. I had no north. I didn't know what I really. I didn't want to see who I was, because I still was in denial, and I didn't want to. I didn't know where I really want to go because I wasn't looking at. I was not accepting what was there. So how can I look in front? So yeah, it sounds like a good opportunity. Let's do it. Even so, I knew it wasn't. And I challenge everybody listening to that who is an entrepreneur and look in his life how often he went into partnership or into just because of not real reasons, just because you denied reality. And the most powerful entrepreneurs are the ones who really are grounded in themselves. Talking, you said before, peak performance through inner peace. There is no peak performance without inner peace. It's impossible. Because you always lose focus. You will always be in another direction. You will always not be in the right mindset. Because if you're not grounded, how can you? It's like how can I shoot for the moon if I'm not even able to stand still? So I need to have that grounding. So these peak performance just can come through that. And yes, you will say, but there are these people who are doing. We are not seeing into the lives of people. So the snapshots we get on LinkedIn and on Instagram and on TikTok and on media from people, it's never the story. It's only a minuscule snapshot of what happened. So we have no clue. So that's the story, which was one of the stories. There are many. Oh, no, there are none. I know I was successful. I know there are many stories which were not working out. But a story where I was really successful, that's now. I had times in my life I had a lot more money than today. I had times in my life where I had a lot more people shaking my hand, running. I was even in politics at one moment in time, and so on. I had times where I was way more respected from society, but I was never so happy in my life than I am now. And why is that? Because I decided so. Sounds crazy, but happiness is a decision, and then you need to take action to come there. Whatever action is yours. I found my way, my path to get there. But today I am the most happy Marco I ever was. I can say that without any shadow of a doubt. Yeah. Would I love to have a million on my account? Yes, it would be great. I would have less worry. But on the other hand, I would not have to work on it. And getting the peace of mind. No, but it is beautiful because it's getting the peace of mind. Finding that calm, that there is I'm a spiritual intelligence certified spiritual intelligence coach, and one of the spiritual intelligence capacities is equanimity, being in the moment and accepting, and as like, how to say that, being the lighthouse when storm hits, and you just stay there and you stay. You're just being able to stay calmly where you need to be. That's, again, we started off with the fact that as an entrepreneur, very often we are totally attached. That
Yeah.
attachment gives you absolutely no possibility of equanimity at all. You are not capable to detach. You're not capable of weathering a storm. You will just go through it, and it is even celebrated by society. Oh, look how he's going through stuff. Oh, look, and but it is not about that. It's about accepting what happens. And guys, we need equanimity in the next few months and years like we never need them, because the times ahead of us are not better than the times past. I tell you that one, at least in the next 6 months to 2 years. So, equanimity. With what happens in the world right now, like 10 years ago, I would not have been able to work half a day just thinking about how the world will end with everything which is happening. I still look at it, and it's still getting me in the moment, but then I just switch off and I do what I need to do. Why can I do that? Because I'm grounded in who I am. And I know where I want to go. But when I'm not having that, and I'm just like a leaf.
But so in on this journey, you when you got your client, let's say, like, if you think back on the 8 years, and you had a client and you did your work and presented like what you stand for, because this is a yeah, what can you say, like, it's a new perspective on business, on life, or whatnot. When you had a session, or I don't know how many weeks you worked with, or it's a week or a day or whatnot, when you went finished that job, did you go like, yes, and that is yes, or were you just like, yes, I'm onto something, or like, how do you celebrate, how did you celebrate?
That's again a great question. I love your questions, Helen. One of the biggest mistakes we do in the line of work I am at least, is that we are attaching ourselves to the results of our customers. But who are we? Sometimes we see them, sometimes we get great reviews, and that's amazing, or we get great testimonials, and that's great. But in essence, we don't know. We don't know what will happen. I very often go out on a tangent and say things which I know that for the moment people can maybe not handle directly, but it's just putting a seed. Over the last 30 years, people were seeding in me, and now it's blooming. And so I drop names of authors. I talk about a concept which might just shock them for the moment, but the credibility I have, they don't have a problem with it. And then one day it will come back, or it does now. And so for me, the biggest recognition I am getting is the fact that I can get up every day and do what I do. That
Yeah,
I am allowed to be that tool. So we didn't go into where that's come from. So that's a whole other life, if you want to.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but that fact that I thank God every morning for giving me that opportunity to do what I do. And that's not, and for that I don't have to talk about him every time to people who have no access to that. It's not necessary. Other people who can do that. It's not my role. My role is the one to put seeds.
Yeah, that is a beautiful ending to our conversation because a whole hour is gone. And like I said to you before we started, it's just like
Yeah.
we can talk our bottoms off because we we could probably talk forever. But so I just thank you very much because this
Thank you,
it's
Eddie.
unbelievable how my journey in this inspiring conversations has taken me and meeting loads of fabulous people. It's just like fun. It's like, and
Yeah.
I'm just having fun because I'm just it's just like giving me so much. And I want to point like people to your website, Centrapreneur. I'm so bad at French. Centrapreneur.com. And if they want to get in touch with you, I found your email on LinkedIn,
Oh
Marco at
wow! Oh wow! It's all
centrapreneur.com.
good.
So like just like if they find resonate with
Good.
something, so you well hopefully your inbox will not be overflown by overflooded with some idiots. No.
No.
Uh, but you inspire, like it's inspiring, and that is what it is. You inspire people, and it's just you just take action, and if you have some to grow and to be like just be conscious of your own ability, because if you are feeling miserable, like what do you do to your surroundings? What impact do you have on your wife, on your daughter? Like what, like it is just like a big thing. So I just I'm really inspired, and Marco, this has been a great fun, and you just
Thank
I
you.
love your shirt. I envy you of your shirt, but that is totally different thing. So, and just before we round up, like the next inspiring conversation will be in a week's time on Thursday, 26th of June. And I will put that on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube or whenever. Uh, as always, I think that we have to be curious, we have to be interested, and then we have to be inspired. And then by that, then we can take action and just like move forward and find the things that we are forgetting. How remembering. So like you talked about so elegantly, like we have to remember who we were and how what made us tick and what we wanted to do in life. So Marco, thank you very much, and just this was brilliant.
Thank you, Hedin. Oh, yeah, brilliant questions. Huh? So you really always had to hammer on the nail where it needed to be. So thank you very much for that.